Okay, let's start with a quick overview of this class. CS4540 is kind of a special class in the sense that it doesn't have a fixed subject. Different subjects are taught in this course before they become their own courses. The subject we'll talk about in this class can be summarized as Web Development with Microsoft Technologies. In the course CS3220, we cover the fundamentals of web development. But if you do a serious web project, you would realize that what we learned in 3220 is not quite enough. We need to know more in order to create web applications that are fast, reliable, and secure. And with good technologies, we can actually do that by writing less code. So why Microsoft technologies? Well, for starters, they are very widely used in industry, in academia, and in government agencies. In fact, the original idea to offer this course was because two of our long-term sponsors for senior design project used primarily Microsoft technologies, and our senior design students had to spend lots of time to learn those from scratch. Besides being widely used, I think Microsoft technologies are also quite cool. And I'm not just talking about things like Xbox or HoloLens. Just from a computer science perspective, I think, for example, the .NET framework and the C# programming language have lots of cool ideas and features, like the common base library, link, function delegates, async and await, and so on. The ASP.NET Core framework incorporated many nice features from other languages and frameworks like dependency injection and so on. And overall, they are just fun to learn and use. And on top of that, I think Microsoft has also become a better company, which is kind of important for me to use their technologies. Instead of being the old evil empire, Microsoft has fully embraced cross-platform and open source. In fact, they are currently the #1 contributor to open source projects, even surpassed Google. Now, with that, let's talk about what we'll cover in this class. Our focus will be on web development. But before we do that, we'll need to cover some fundamentals, namely the programming language and the data modeling and processing. More specifically, we'll talk about the .NET and .NET Core framework and spend quite some time getting familiar with the C# language. For data modeling and processing, we'll review SQL and how to use the Microsoft SQL Server database system. We'll learn LINQ, which is a SQL-like syntax you can use to query collections of objects in C#. We'll talk about entity relationship modeling, and based on that, how to use the object relational mapping tool called Entity Framework Core, which allows us to map objects in C# to tables in relational databases. And then we'll move on to the web part, covering various aspects of the ASP.NET Core framework. ASP.NET Core was first released in 2016. It's one of the newer web development frameworks, and as a result, it incorporated lots of good ideas from other frameworks, like having an embedded web server, a modern security framework for authentication and authorization, a middleware architecture, supporting dependency injection, and so on. It's a very good web framework that makes developing MVC web applications and REST APIs a lot easier. Okay, so this is a very brief overview of the things we'll cover in this course. Hope you will like it, and see you in the next video.